Batman's butler, Alfred Pennyworth, destroyed Superman in a fistfight, the last son of Krypton, taking on some of the toughest, meanest, and most powerful enemies the DC Universe has to offer, was beaten by Batman's butler. That's right, Alfred Pennyworth, beloved elderly butler of the Bat family, got into a fight with Clark Kent, the last of a hyper-powerful alien species. On any normal occasion, a physical altercation between these two would be unthinkable. But the world of injustice is anything but normal. In a world as topsy-turvy as that one, sometimes the unthinkable becomes reality. Number 1. Why did Superman and Alfred fight? Injustice takes place in an alternate dimension, similar but very different from the prime DC universe. The Joker tricked this world's Superman into killing his wife and unborn child, followed by the detonation of a nuclear bomb in the heart of Metropolis. All of this heartbreak at once was simply too much for the Man of Steel. In a fit of burning rage and hatred completely off color for Big Blue, Superman drove his fist through the Joker's chest in cold blood, killing the madman for good. But Superman's pain and anger didn't stop there. He'd soon create the One Earth regime, a brutal dictatorship with Superman as the supreme leader, forcibly bringing all of humanity under his heel in a misguided effort to curb violence and suffering. But not all of Earth's superhuman community went along with Superman's totalitarian vision for the planet. In fact, the leader that emerged to lead the resistance proved to be none other than Batman. At first, Clark and Bruce simply butted heads as Superman began quickly taking steps to put his new government into place. But something really crazy happened in Arkham Asylum. If this never happened, Alfred would never have fought Clark. When Superman arrived with his right-hand advisor, Wonder Woman, they had a terrible objective. The inmates at Arkham, some of the worst criminals in the country, would be relocated at best and executed at worst. Superman believed that the elimination of criminals would further his goal of a worldwide utopia. Batman obviously disagreed and arrived to stop the two at all costs. However, in a shocking moment of betrayal, Damian Wayne, Robin, switched sides to stand behind Superman and his regime. This alone would certainly have hurt Alfred more than any of Superman's other moves. Alfred had been like a second father to Damian, and to see the young boy manipulated by Superman's strongman routine would have left Alfred distraught. But Robin's betrayal would only be the first tragedy the day would bring, and that's because during the fight between Batman's forces and Superman's, in a moment of accidental rage, in a flash of anger, Nightwing was struck and killed by none other than Robin himself. The sudden death of one of Earth's most empathetic and compassionate heroes would have been bad enough, but the demise of Batman's first son, at the hands of his youngest, was simply too much to bear. This moment raised the conflict to a new level. But more importantly, Alfred Pennyworth, a loving, caring surrogate parent to all those young men and women that Bruce brought into his life of vigilantism over the years, lost 2 sons that day. In fact, Alfred was so heartbroken that when Catwoman arrived at the manor to comfort Bruce, she found the butler drowning his sorrows by staring at the bottom of a bottle. The blame for these losses, Alfred believed, lay squarely on the shoulders of none other than Clark Kent. And when time came to take the fight to Clark himself, Alfred took his chance. Number 2. When did Superman and Alfred fight? The conflict between Superman's New World Order and Batman's rebellion reached a fever pitch with the development of a Kryptonian superdrug synthesized by Lex Luthor. The pill was capable of giving anyone who ingested it increased strength, speed, and durability, such that, conceivably, they would be on an even playing field with the Man of Steel. Knowing that if Superman's forces were able to gain sole access to this technology, the war would be lost, Batman devised a daring plan to infiltrate the Fortress of Solitude and steal a pill. Once it had been deconstructed, Batman hoped his own forces would resynthesize the ingestible and give themselves the fighting chance in the coming clashes. The team consisted of Captain Atom, Catwoman, Green Arrow, and Black Canary. While Captain Atom battled Superman to keep him busy, the rest of Batman's squad made it into the fortress, where they were surprised to find Superman's parents, Martha and Jonathan Kent, holed up and safe from their prying eye. Their distraction didn't last long, however, as Wonder Woman's sword cut through Captain Atom's skin and caused a 7-megaton nuclear detonation in the upper atmosphere. Superman, whom Atom had hoped the explosion would have killed, survived, and when he returned to his fortress, he was not happy. An explosion at the entrance to the cave had prevented all but Green Arrow from actually entering Superman's inner sanctum. Oliver tried to fend off against the enraged Supes, but his arrow dinged off the Man of Steel's skin and injured Jonathan Kent, only making Clark angrier and more volatile. Realizing he had no way out, Green Arrow made the only play he had left. Only able to swipe one single pill without Clark seeing, Oliver latched the payload to an arrow and launched it past Superman, far out into the tundra, where his comrades were waiting. Afterward, Superman promptly beat Green Arrow to death, without mercy, even as his own parents screamed at him to stop. When Superman finally finished murdering one of his oldest friends, he realized he'd been tricked, and that one of the pills had been successfully taken. He raced to the Batcave scene, only to find that Batman had made sure his allies had gone deep underground before Superman arrived, so only Bruce would be in danger should Superman lose control once more. "You're delusional, Clark," Batman told the man as he landed with a thud in the Batcave. But Superman, fresh off of murdering Green Arrow, clearly wasn't in the mood for games. He grabbed Bats by the throat and held him aloft. "Be careful how you speak to me," he seethed, as his eyes glowed red-hot. "I'm here to put an end to this." "No, you're not," Batman retorted without hesitation. "If you wanted to kill me, I'd be dead. You didn't have to face me. You could have used your heat vision to lobotomize me from space." Then a pause before Bruce continued. "Is that Ollie's blood you're covered in?" Clark recoiled at this, saying, but Bruce finished the sentence for him, "was the most ethical and compassionate friend we had. Go on. Justify Ollie's death. I'll call Dinah and you can tell her why he had to die for the greater good." Batman's plan was to keep Superman talking long enough for his computer to analyze the pill. But when Batman told him, "I know why you're here, Clark. I've seen this before. You think I can stop you, and somewhere deep down you want me to," Superman lost his composure. He tossed Bruce across the cave, bellowing, "Stop talking," as he lashed out. But even after colliding hard with the cave walls, Bruce stood and continued berating Clark. "That would be easier, wouldn't it?" he continued. "If I stop talking, I'm sorry to disappoint you with this anticlimax, but I'm not going to do it, Clark. I'm not going to fight you. I don't think I can beat you without killing you. And I'm not like you. I'm not a murderer." With the word murderer, Batman opened a file on the central screen, replaying Clark and Lois's vows to one another from their wedding ceremony. While Batman was able to keep Clark talking long enough for the Batcomputer to examine and replicate the formula behind the superpill, Superman's patience wore thin quickly when Bruce brought up Lois, an understandably sore spot for Superman. But Bruce's distraction didn't work perfectly. When Batman finally made a mad dash to reach for the pill and teleport away, Superman caught him just in time. Clark lifted Bruce above his head with terrifying ease. "You're right," he said. "I'm not here to kill you, Bruce, but I can have you in a position where you can't hurt me or the world anymore." With that, Clark brought the bat down over his knee, breaking Bruce's spine with a hair-raising crack. Even the initial break was too kind for Superman, who kept pressing, even as Batman's spine diffused from his vertebrae. Finishing his ugly work, Clark threw Bruce to the ground with disgust, but even as he walked away, Clark could sense something was amiss. "What did you do?" he asked in shock, when he saw that the formula had been uploaded to a remote computer. Bruce, in immense pain and barely conscious, replied, "I gave us a chance, we can synthesize it now. We can stand up to you." What came next was truly harrowing. Clark pressed down on Batman's broken back, sending spikes of unbearable pain through his friend as he demanded to know, "Where did you upload it to? Who has access to it? Tell me." But Batman couldn't be coerced into speaking, simply telling his old friend, "No matter what you tell yourself in the future, I want you to remember this moment, when you resorted to torture for the greater good." This remark gave Superman some momentary clarity, as he stepped away, as if repulsed by his own action. But as soon as he did, Superman heard a familiar voice behind him, paired with a comforting hand on his shoulder. Number 3, Superman vs. Alfred. Superman turned to see the dark, piercing, let-down face of Alfred Pennyworth, looking back at man. "Clark," Alfred spoke in a stoic tone. "Alfred," Superman responded once he turned. But the surprise of being confronted by Bruce's butler blinded Clark to the real danger staring him straight in the face. The super pill that Batman had been scanning was absent from the table, which meant that instead of the feeble old man, Clark was now facing a human being with powers on par with his own. Suddenly, without warning, Alfred Pennyworth thrusted his forehead into Superman's nose with such unexpected power that it took the Man of Steel completely by surprise. It's doubtful Superman had received a single hit as devastating as this in years, and that includes the nuclear blast he recently walked away from. On impact, Superman's nose exploded in blood from the force of the headbutt. Clark fell to the ground silently, nearly losing consciousness, as Alfred stood over him, fist balled, ready for more. "I'm so disappointed in you," the butler said matter-of-factly, as he approached for another wallop. "No more," Alfred demanded, as his super-powered foot rocketed into Superman, transcending Kryptonian blood scattering across the floor of the Batcave. "Do you hear me?" he asked, as his fist sent Clark's head glancing with a sickening crack into the stone floor. Finally, Alfred let all of his anger out. Everything this would-be dictator had taken from him was finally his to take back. The butler began yelling at the man who had taken 2 of his children away, as he pummeled him into the ground again and again. "You don't get to hurt my family anymore," Alfred yelled, finally, blow after blow, sending Superman's skull crashing again and again into the ground. This was, in all honesty, one of the most one-sided beatings Superman may have ever taken. Alfred was able to take Clark so completely and totally by surprise that the last son of Krypton could do nothing but crumple to the floor and wait for the beating to be over. Finally, when Alfred determined Superman had had enough, he stepped out from over Clark's beaten, bloodied body, calmly, with impressive poise for one who had just defeated the most dangerous and powerful man on Earth. Alfred walked over to Bruce, saying, "Easy, Master Bruce. I've got you." "What about?" Bruce began to ask, but Alfred quieted him before he could finish his question. Knowing that even though the blood oozing from his ears, Superman could still hear his words. "We have everything we need, sir," Alfred said, as he carried his son towards the teleport. "There's nothing worth saving here. Never piss off the butler. Thank you for watching."